To include the customer, I have to include the data sources. And for this, I click on the database symbol here on the left. And then I have to search for the data source. And the Microsoft Power Platform offers a couple of hundred connectors to different data sources. Also third-party software like SAP and many more. In this case, it's very easy. We use Dataverse, and this is on the top. And the first table we want to include is the contacts table, because we want to select the customer. So now we have the contacts table, but I also want to have the vehicle table, because I would look up vehicle identification number. I look at all tables, but this is too much, so I can search for it. So I type in vehicle and select the vehicle data table, but I also need the repair data table. So I look up for repair and include this into the Power App that I'm currently running. But this is not what we want to show. We want to show the contacts. So we delete this and type in contacts. And we see here, this is already existing because we included the table contacts earlier in this video. And I also see already some values in the drop-down list, like Redmond. If we click on it, we see, okay, these are obviously the cities that the customer or the contact is living at, but that's not what we want. So what we see here, we go to value and we can change all kinds of fields that are supposed to be displayed. What we want to take is full name. Where is it? Full name. Here is it. So now we say Ivan McKay and sample. Now that we have the customer contact, we want to have the option to select the car the customer has. Maybe he has several cars. So what we do is we copy and paste the drop-down box we created for the customer. And what we see is that Power Apps just copied the name as well and put an underscore and a 1 to the name. If you have a larger application, this is not very helpful, because then it's difficult to see or realize what control is doing what. So we have to change this, but I will do this in a later point in time. For now, we look at the app and we see, we have a new control here. For now, it shows to the contact table, but we want to have it to look to the vehicle descriptions. So we change that, vehicle descriptions, and we see it shows a column from the vehicle description. But we want to have the make first. So we go to make and select that. So we see BMW, click on play, we see manufacturer. But at the moment we see all manufacturer. There is no dependency between the customer contact and the vehicle. So here I can select all kinds of cars, in example a Honda, but John McKay maybe has not a Honda. So I look into the dataset record. Yes, Yvonne McKay, she has BMW, but not a Honda. So what we need now is to create a relationship between the vehicle description table and the contact. And this we do with the filter function. Filter, vehicle description, and now we need a condition. And the condition is contact ID that links the vehicle description table to the contact table. So for this we type in contact and we see contact ID is already in the proposal list. And now we have to link it to the contact table, and for that we use the value of the drop-down list we created before, drop down 1, and take the selected item like Yvonne McKay, and I select the contact. But here we have a mismatch because contact ID is a lookup field, so I need to reference from the lookup to the table to the correct column, table column, which is contact in this case. And if you take a look at the original table in the form, we see, okay, contact ID, look up, as I just said, and it looks up Yvonne McKay, and the corresponding column to the drop-down is contact. And we see this here, the drop-down 1 is green, which reflects, shows, okay, drop-down 1 is this one. That makes it easier to identify it while we are programming. And if I go on play, I see now I can only select BMW because that is a car that Yvonne McKay has. Now I want to include my repair ID to assign the pictures to the repair. And I see there's not enough space for a third drop-down box. So I go to properties, width of the contacts, and I resize it to 200. And I do the same for the vehicle description, send it to 100. And now I have enough space for a third drop-down. But I see Yvonne McKay, I cannot read the full name. So this might be a bit small. So I go again to width of this drop-down, give it a 250, and I'm good to go. Now I copy and paste the drop-down like before, and I have my third drop-down here. Like before, it references to the vehicle description table that I don't want to. So I comment it out with 2 slashes, and I can select the new table, vehicle repair data. And I see this already here in the drop-down list. If I click on play, I see now columns from the repair data table, but I see all repair and I see mileage, which I did not want to see. So let's see what is a good column to show in this drop-down. And we see the repair date. The repair date makes perfect sense because the customer comes in on a certain repair date with his car, and then I take the photos. So I take this as a selection criteria. And as we see here, now I have the date. We see the date without formatting, so I have the date and the time. And I could format this here and make it much nicer, but in this demo, we built the minimum viable product, a basic version just to show that it works. In a future point in time, we could make this much nicer and work better, but at this point in time, it is okay for me. If I look here, I see all the repair data appointments, but what I want is, of course, a filter on Yvonne McKay's repair date. So we go back into the edit and copy the filter statement from earlier, because it's from the mechanic the same. So we cut out the vehicle repair data table, replace it with the vehicle description table. Contact ID, this is not the right match anymore because we are at repair data table. So we say vehicle ID, and contact doesn't fit as well. So what we need is column vehicle description. This is the primary key of the vehicle description table. Now I don't want to link to the drop-down 1, but on 1.1. And now we see how stupid it was to give the drop-down boxes not proper names, because I don't know from the code what drop-down 1.1 means. But I see with the gray in underline that is meant the vehicle description. Now I have to change the contact to vehicle description, which is the primary key, and I can delete the old code and hit on play to see. Now I only see repair appointment that are valid for the selected car. But like before, we see the column is not the right one, it's mileage. But what I want to see is the repair date. So I have to manually adapt that, which is a kind of pain in the, because every time you change the data source, you have to realign the column that is displayed in the drop-down list.